right? You start out with a tournament, great
down.
placing, or down, right? Hopefully up, that's what we're hoping for. And Peter on the right, we've told everyone here on the stream, Peter is a seasoned player, has been playing for a long time. If you look back all the way to 2017, finishes at international championships, consistent finishes over the years at regional championships, top 16, a very solid accomplishment. A lot of these players have 400, 500 plus players. You're battling through Swiss rounds, you're battling through day 2 Swiss, and as we mentioned, Arceus V-Star, B-Drill is in there, as well as a lot of other treats that we'll get to feature and show you guys.
A lot of other treats. This is basically just an amalgamation of every Arceus deck put together in one, and Peter showing it off here, making it all the way to top 4. And both of these players have one thing on their mind, and that's getting this game started.
Yeah, it looks like players are ready to set their prize cards out. We'll see what is available for both of our players. Big Charm in the prizes could be a big deal, as well as a Fusion Energy over for Vincent. That is a card you want to have access to, especially if you're going second for that combo play of the Alessa Sparkle and the Meloetta.
At least nothing too detrimental, and it is towards the bottom of the prizes. So we could see maybe a quick prize taken here or there, can find it. But it is gonna have to be a little bit of a weird navigation. And wow, starting the Galarian Zapdos V is Peter. That's not that good. It's weak to Psychic.
Yeah, and it's a 2-prize Pokemon that's got not too much HP. 200 means all this Mew needs to deal is 100 damage. Even on the Mew via simple power tablet means that Psychic Leap is taking a knockout. But Vincent starting things off, Cram-O-Matic, what can we say? Maybe one of the best coin flip cards we've ever seen. Hits a heads, that's going to almost certainly find that Battle VIP pass.
Who needs to play multiple Cram-O-Matic when you can just play one, hit the heads? You got the 2 in the prize cards. You don't even need them.
Absolutely. The effect similar to that of Computer Search, or the same of that. Have to discard an item card to play it, but even if you flip Tails, Mew loves this card to be able to just thin the hand out. Prize checking is important. Vince is going to find out pretty quickly that there's only 3 Fusion Strike energies in the deck. Has to make sure there is a game plan to play around, not having the ability to hit for that big 280 damage with Melodious Echo. Almost certain we'll see some Genesects get grabbed. Looking at the rest of the hand, already has the Genesect as well as Pumpkaboo, but Pumpkaboo, it's not in here. Why don't you explain to us a little bit, Jeremy, why Pumpkaboo is in this deck?
Oh, well, it's because Paths of the Peak, we already saw how dangerous it was in our top 8 match. And so it's one of the ways you can kind of navigate around it with just a simple Quick Ball or Ultra Ball in your hand. But that Cram-O-Matic finding the Battle VIP pass, it is the #1 card for this deck going first. You want as many as you can because it thins out your deck of 2 cards. It also is a card that you can't play later on in the game, so if you get as many of those out as you can, you're drawing better cards. And looking here, just another Quick Ball. This is looking like a pretty good start to Genesects, at least coming down for Vincent, the 3rd in hand.
Already has the 2nd Genesect in hand. Quick Ball to pretty much fill the bench up already, just playing a few item cards. No need for supporter cards. In fact, it's one of the very few decks in the standard format that can get away with not playing these draw supporters because Genesect is your draw supporter essentially every turn to turbo through your deck. An interesting inclusion we see in Vincent's deck as well, Palpad, there to get back some of those supporter cards, especially when you're turboing through the deck. Just playing one of those as well as the Big Parasol, and that's going to be the key card to note because Big Parasol stops the effects of attacks like Persisting.
It is one of the things that we've seen included in a lot of the Mew VMAX decks since Arceus B-Drill just took over the format, and it has been putting in a little bit of work in other regionals, but we haven't really seen it pop up here too much. But Vincent able to make it to top 4 with this in the deck, and now you're in the position you want. You're playing against a B-Drill with this card in your deck, and now you just need to get set up, and you should be good.
That's the goal. Getting rid of Pumpkaboo understands that that's not going to really be a card that's too relevant, but Peter's going to check it out. It's a card you don't see a lot in Mew, but I'm sure as Path to the Peak sees more and more play, Mew has to find a way to adapt. It's always got a target on its back since the release, but it looks like the 3rd Genesect being eyed up off of this Quick Ball. Can't hate it. It's how this deck functions. We usually just see that sweet 3 is the medium for what these Mew players like to get out when it comes to Genesect counts.
Now, one thing to be a little careful about is the ability from the Galarian Zapdos V. Lowers its attack cost for each Pokemon V your opponent has in play. Right now, just 1 fighting energy deals 170 damage and discards a special energy from your opponent's Pokemon. A simple Choice Belt will be able to take a knockout on any of those Pokemon V that Vincent has put into play.
I think Vincent understands that. Instead, grabbing Oricorio off of the Quick Ball will reduce the damage done to all of these Fusion Strike Pokemon by 20, so it's going to be a lot harder, especially with the resistance on Mew. It's now essentially a minus 50 from this Thunderous Kick that was alone not taking a knockout. So Peter's going to start things off with an Energy Search, look through the deck, figure out what is available, hopefully getting down what every Arceus deck wants to get down, that turn 1 energy attachment, that Arceus. And that's going to really be what things come down to. Mew puts on a lot of aggression super fast. You've got to be able to respond.
Looks like there is access to all 3 different types of energy. Peter can go for that fighting energy and maybe pull off a quick KO with a boss's orders on that Oricorio or Meloetta. But again, if you're doing that, you're not really advancing your board state too much. You're not getting that energy on an Arceus, and you still have to plan for a Mustard soon to get a Beedrill in play.
And Mustard, the combo card in this deck to be able to get those Pokemon into play that are single strikes. But it looks like we will see the energy be committed to the Zapdos. So at worst, this will be attacking for a single fighting energy, thanks to that ability. 1 colorless less for every Pokemon V in play, or GX, but we don't have GX Pokemon currently in the format. So it looks like Quick Ball as well will be able to find a basic out of the deck. Arceus will be the grab, so I think Peter understands putting aggression on is important. Level Ball to follow up to. Things are looking very solid to start things off for Peter. Everything is getting set up and put into place.
Finally, a Sobble hits the board, and that means Drizzile will be available for the future as long as it stays in play. And with Peter's hand here, can get some damage on that Mew. It's not going to be enough to take the knockout thanks to resistance and Oricorio, like you said, but still pretty good to get that damage, but still able to free retreat, get out of there. You'd have to waste a boss's orders, and so here, just using that boss to bring up Meloetta to take the knockout.
Meloetta will be knocked out by that Thunderous Kick. Peter understands in a deck that is against a deck that is so aggressive like Mew, taking prizes before they can will set you up to maybe route your prizes out. Now it's super easy, it seems, for Peter. Be able to knock out a Mew, hopefully, with something like a Persisting, and then from there, Genesect will be an easy knockout down the line with something like a Choice-Belted Arceus V-Star. Vincent already eyeing up the supporter in hand. Alessa Sparkle will opt to just play it right away. Only 3 Fusion Strike energy in the deck, so we'll only be able to draw into the last remaining one potentially with these Fusion Strike system. Going to elect to attach them to both of the Mew V, as that will also not count for the attachment for turn. So this is where Vincent has to find a way to knock out this Zapdos. Again, a single Power Tablet plus Psychic Leap will get there. Any attack on the Mew VMAX, except for Glistening Droplets on the Oricorio, will get there as well.
Yeah, I would be very worried to see that attack come out right now from Vincent. But it does have the Ultra Ball, so that can find another Genesect, that Mew VMAX potentially. You have a switch to burn in your hand. You already have the Mew VMAX in hand to go along with it.
Yeah, looks like we'll discard another Mew V and the switch. No need to pivot when you've got free retreater. Mew has everything. It's got one of the best resistances in the game, solid amount of HP, the ability to have versatile attack options, and on top of all that, look, it's a free retreater too.
So we do see the 3rd Genesect V hit the board. That means Vincent will have access to 3 Fusion Strike systems to try to draw into an energy here.
Smart choice, going to keep the Ultra Ball. There's a Pokemon Catcher. That could be a scary card to have. The Psychic Energy, too, means that this Mew will be able to essentially take a knockout onto almost anything on board. We'll need a damage modifier to knock out that Arceus, but the Zapdos is going to be able to attack consistently if you don't respect it and deal with it, and you can deal with it very, very easily because, again, it is Psychic Weak.
Honestly, do you decide to go for the Arceus V with this Pokemon Pokemon Catcher, because you already played the Sparkle for the turn, and if you do, is it better to leave that Zapdos in play?
I think the route is potentially there because you do have Oricorio in play to make things a little bit tougher to knock out, but it seems that the Pokemon Catcher will be held in hand for now, finding another Pokemon Catcher. So there's 2 now. It's a 75% chance on average if you flip both of them to maybe get a single heads, but no, it seems that Vincent just wants to turbo through the deck a little bit more, draw some more cards with Fusion Strike system. Can't blame him. Genesect is one of the best draw engines we've seen in the history of the Pokemon trading card game.
For sure. And there also could be a point of contention where Vincent wants that Power Tablet or Choice Belt first before you commit that Pokemon Catcher, because you're going from a surefire KO to potentially a KO.
And speaking of that, look at that card drawn off of the 3rd Fusion Strike system, Power Tablet in the hand. So this is where you've got to make a decision. It's not as high of a risk play because at worst, if you get rid of one power tablet, it may be it's going to be a little bit harder to find the modifiers to knock out an Arceus down the line, but at the same time, that reward for being able to get it off the board is very, very solid. But it looks like the knockout onto the Galarian Zapdos. Vincent will take 2 prize cards, just a few knockouts potentially away, and it's on Peter to respond. This is a big opening. This Mew is up in the active. It took a knockout, and there is no big Paracel on it. Ultra Ball with access to with Shady Dealings and the Starbirth means there's a lot of options to make a potential mustard happen. We might be seeing it here, Jeremy.
Yeah, I hope you like a lot of mustard on your Pokemon cards because this is going to happen. Peter would just need potentially the Grass Energy and a way to get out of the active after that mustard to take the KO. And Vincent did draw that Fusion Strike Energy and the Power Tablet from the prizes, so pretty good grabs there, but is all down to Peter if he can get this off.
Drizzile will definitely help with that. Grabbing the mustard itself, doesn't even need to use Starbirth, doesn't have the Arceus V-Star in play yet, but you have the potential to draw into that. There's the single strike mustard, getting that V-Drill single strike out of the deck onto the bench. Doesn't matter if it's a basic stage 1 or stage 2, mustard finds any single strike Pokemon that you'd like. Has access to potentially an Arceus V-Star. We're going to see off of these 5 cards. This supporter is so good at not only getting V-Drill out, but the fact that it also fills your hand back up completes the main problem we see with some of these setup supporters.
There's the scoop up net, and do we see the Grass Energy? Is there one in the discard? I know there's the fighting, but was Peter able to discard a Grass Energy a little earlier?
I'm not sure we saw that hit the discard pile right off the bat. The quick ball will get rid of the professor's research, and Sobble seems to be the grab. Has access to scoop up net. The double turbo is in hand, so we could see this maybe grab an Arceus V to then utilize the Trinity Charge. And it seems that Peter understands if I've got this extra turn here, if something's getting knocked out, I might as well get some value and maybe try and close the game out later down the line. So we'll see the Arceus V get grabbed off of the quick ball. So we know Scoop Up Net is in hand. It's just up to Peter to decide, what is my best route? What do I think is going to give me the best chance to win, especially when you know Vincent is easily going to have the cards to attack again. Didn't even have to use the attack on Genesect to take a knockout. No Technoblast needed as that weakness. You can just utilize that Max Miracle. So there's the Scoop Up Net. Beedrill actually comes in, had the Grass Energy in the discard pile, so there is the Persisting taking the knockout. Peter is going to go down to 2 prize cards, so look at that. The Grass was in there, Jeremy.
Yeah, just great hand from Peter. Had the training court before the mustard, so already had it all shored up. And with that knockout, goes down to 2 prize cards remaining to Vincent's 4, and Vincent's going to have to pull off a lot this turn to get a knockout and set up the game for potentially 2 more knockouts.
Yeah, the first thing is first, you got to take care of what's in front of you, and while it is maybe not the biggest Pokemon, we've got a lot of legendaries walking around on both players' fields. Beedrill is scary for sure. This hand is looking pretty sizable. It's going to be up to Vincent to figure out how to thin this hand the best to make sure that you can draw the most cards off a Fusion Strike system while also filling your bench up with 1 more Pokemon, and it seems there is another Fusion Strike Pokemon in the deck. Mew V will be the grab off that quick ball.
Again, this will make it 6 Pokemon, so now you can draw up until you have 6 for each of these Genesect V and their Fusion Strike system. You have Power Tablet in hand, but again, you want to kind of save that for later.
Yeah, I think the debate at this point is, if I commit this Fusion Strike energy to this Mew, how do I see the game plan going down for the rest of the game? I think Vincent understands I have to just invest in this Mew as my attacker for the majority of the remainder of the game, commit everything to this, the choice belts, the damage modifiers, actually opting to get this benched Mew powered up, as a lot of these cards are not cards you necessarily want to play right away. Don't really want to boss his orders around this Beedrill. It's got the energy ready. It's ready to just utilize Persisting again. A bunch of power tablets you don't need to use to knock out this Beedrill. Max Miracle itself is doing enough to take the knockout.
Yeah, well, you'll need a Mew VMAX for that. Right now, both power tablets are needed if you want to take a knockout with Psychic Leap. So this is the kind of position Vincent has put himself in. You can take the knockout, but you're going to use a lot of resources if you do. If you don't use it and you just draw 1 or 2 cards, then there's a risk you don't draw the Mew VMAX, and then you're just going to have to use those anyway to try to draw into it. Also a route he could play the boss's orders.
Ooh, you see, so hesitant to play down both those power tablets. The first Genesect will draw 3 cards. Chromatic, the only card that can really be played. You don't want to play Escape Rope. Your opponent's just going to maybe send up the Sobble or one of those Arceus Pokemon. They don't want their Pokemon to be knocked out, but they'd be more than happy to give up that Pokemon in comparison to Beedrill.
Chromatic is a way to search for the Mew VMAX here. Another card that could potentially be very good right now with the 2 power tablets being played is that big Parasol, because then you can just target down an Arceus and get the big Parasol. That means Beedrill's not really doing much of anything, and then you just need another Arceus KO to take the game.
And you see that eyed up to the top of the deck, another Chromatic heads, able to find any card out of the deck, understands that maybe I can attach this Parasol to this Mew and then play something like a Boss's Orders to target up another Pokemon. Now, your Beedrill is still in the field, but it's unable to take a knockout with Persisting. The attack will do no damage. It will do nothing to this Mew because Big Parasol prevents the effects of attacks, not damage done to the Pokemon's attached to. And there it is, that gold Big Parasol. So we'll see the Echoing Horn get played as well. Believe there is the Zapdos in the discard pile. That's an easy 2-prize lineup for Vincent later down the game. Even with a Boss's Orders, that means the Power Tablets will also get there to take the knockout. Psychic weak Pokemon really struggle against this, but...
Who needs to play a Boss's Orders when your opponent will bring up the Arceus V for you? Now just a single Mew VMAX away from taking 2 prizes this turn and having the Boss's Orders for next turn. No, double battle VIP pass off that Fusion Strike system. That's probably the worst case scenario here.
Yeah, no Chromatic to discard that Infinite out of the hand. You can play the... There's no Psychic Energy, or there is a Psychic Energy in the discard pile, but you've already committed your energy for turn, so you can bump the Stadium, put Old Cemetery in play. And Power Tablet, I think you have to go all in on this play to find the Mew VMAX.
Yeah, you have to. You can, if you don't get it, you still can boss the Beedrill, take the knockout, but that's not really what you want to be doing. You can boss the Galarian Zapdos V, take the knockout, but then you just used all your power tablets, and who knows if you're going to be able to take a knockout on an Arceus V.
That's the decision that Vincent is pressed with right now, presented with a problem. What's he going to do to get around this? It looks like, I mean, there's so many routes. The fact that the 2-battle VIP pass, so many cards can't be thin in this hand, you're just so limited on what you can draw with Genesect.
Opting not to play that Boss's Orders and drawing another power tablet. That means you're gonna have to Boss's Orders this turn. Take a knockout on something, maybe the Sobble, the Beedrill still? Like, oh, this is rough.
Yes, you can take a knockout onto something, but the problem presents itself that leaving a Mew up, this Arceus can get powered up in a single turn with something like Raihan, which is very easy to get out. A single Arceus V-Star will get there. A Drizzile will be able to find the pieces necessary, but it looks like Vincent understands that if I'm not taking knockouts, if I'm not putting pressure, I'm just going to give Peter more time to build up the board. We will see the Boss's Orders bring up the Galarian Zapdos V. Power Tablets mean that this Mew is dealing enough damage with Psychic Leap to take a knockout, and this will be interesting to see if Vincent decides to put the Mew V back into the deck and maybe put up one of these 1-prize Pokemon to play around that Raihan play taking the game. What do you think about that option?
Yeah, it could be the route to victory here, but even with Raihan, you still have the Oricorio dealing -20, and the Raihan would need a double turbo to go along with the Arceus. So I believe it's not enough to take the knockout on the active.
So we need Choice Belt plus the double Turbo Energy and Raihan. Shady Dealings right away. We'll search the deck out. Do we see access to the Raihan? The Raihan is in deck. Trying to see what the rest of the hand looks like. Does have Ultra Ball to find this Arceus V-Star. I'm not sure if all the cards are necessarily there. I don't know
if they are.
I think they are too. Is Choice Belt's not in the prize cards,
yeah,
I believe?
Choice Belt is in the deck. It's towards the bottom. Peter has it kind of eyed out here. So you want to search for that V-Star. Gives your access to Star Birth. Allows you to grab that Raihan. And then with that Raihan, you're able to grab the rest of the piece you need.
So yeah, Oricorio means that this Mew essentially has 200 health. So the double turbo will be 20 short. We're still searching off of these Shady Dealings. This could just by itself grab the Raihan. The Ultra Ball is already in hand there for Peter. So we'll see what the line of thought process is. Regardless, Peter can still be in a pretty scary spot if there is no knockout taken onto this Mew, because of the fact that this Mew VMAX can just pretty much take an easy knockout potentially on an Arceus if both of them do not V-Star evolve. Trying to look through and see, it looks like the training court was the grab off of the Shady Dealings. I believe we still have the Ultra Ball in hand. Yep, the gold Ultra Ball released in Brilliant Stars as the card finally comes back into the standard format. I'm all welcome for Ultra Ball. I'm all ears. I'm happy to have it back, as I'm sure this will be grabbing potentially an Arceus V-Star, or could grab something like a Hoopa to maybe power it up the following turn. Peter has a lot of options to work with at this point.
Plays the Ultra Ball, discards the Dark Energy, and it looks like the double Turbo Energy. So I don't think Peter's going to really go for the Arceus V-Star here. Maybe the Raihan was discarded earlier in the game?
Not sure if we're missing something over on our side, but I'm sure Peter understands the situation, what needs to get done, and how to route and navigate through this matchup. So looks like eyeing up Arceus V-Star, still has access to that V-Star power. Nothing shutting that down or making that unavailable.
Raihan is in the deck.
Yeah, maybe this is just Peter focusing on a different line of play, maybe overcomplicating things a little bit. We'll have to see how he works it out. I'm very intrigued to see the other route that is available for Peter that he thinks is the best in this case.
Again, you kind of have that sort of tunnel vision when you have one thing in mind, and sometimes as a player you need to step back and see. But they are the ones on the table. They're the ones that got there to this position, and finds that Arceus V-Star. So Star Birth will be able to search for 2 cards. These are going to be a big 2 cards to see what Peter grabs.
Yeah, almost certain that this might grab another energy, but the fact that the double turbo energy was already discarded means that there's no way to utilize that Trinity charge right off the bat. Would have to grab another energy card, eyeing up the Ordinary Rod off of this Starbirth.
Peter just doing a little bit of help for the opponent, showing what he wants to get with Starbirth.
Listen, card knowledge is an important aspect of the Pokemon trading card game. The more knowledge you have, you can base certain plays around what your opponent has in hand. Vincent not playing too many disruptive cards to really mess with the hand for Peter, so maybe having a little bit of confidence, understanding, I'm in an all right spot. I don't have to necessarily keep everything concealed, especially if I'm just going to go ahead and play the cards right now. But well, Raihan's getting eyed up to the top of the deck now, so unless there is another piece that's not quite there, then it should be the math needed. We'll have to see exactly, again, what route Peter goes for, but the fact that big Parasol is in this deck for Vincent just makes this matchup a lot closer, because usually in a situation like this, you either take care of the Beedrill. If you do, then there's always the potential for another Mustard to come out, and if you don't take care of it, then you're most likely going to leave some special energy in play, unless you're Psychic Leaping, but then there's a whole issue of, well, you're one less Pokemon down, your Mew is now out of play, a lot of things are available for boss's orders. We see the other V-Star get played, and here we see the Raihan, so Raihan will be played to accelerate this energy. Already got rid of the double turbo in hand, so we'll see what Peter's options are. Has Big Charm, so maybe thinking, if I power this Arceus up, if I've got a Big Charm on it as well, the math should be there for me to close the game out, as we are going to see the double turbo energy, the card grabbed off of Raihan. This Arceus will be able to attack, not dealing enough damage to knock out this Mew, but it's going to be pretty close and it's going to set up some math for later turns.
Yeah, just unfortunate sequencing there for Peter, but still in a pretty good position. It's going to be almost impossible for Vincent to actually take a knockout on an Arceus V-Star. Already down 3 power tablets, and even with the Choice Belt on the Mew with no energy, it's just, you're not going to do enough damage.
Looks like eyeing up the Big Charm maybe on the Drizzile to keep it a little bit healthier to avoid a Psychic Leap play, but it looks like we will just see the Trinity Nova accelerating 3 energies out of the deck, 160 damage after the Oricorio, so the Choice Band was an option. The game could have been closed out last turn. We'll see if Vincent has a route to put this game together, but the fact that there's already so many power tablets out, the fact that that's not available, but it looks like the Fusion Strike energy was grabbed off of the prize cards, but since one is already in the discard pile, you're not going to be able to reach that damage with Meloetta.
Here we see the Cramomatic discarding that Battle VIP pass, but a Tails for Vincent here. And the hand looking pretty stacked in the way of cards you just don't really want. A lot of the cards here you can't really play down. If you do, they don't really do anything. And even if you eye down that Mew VMAX, you're still going to have to most likely just Psychic Leap it back into the deck, and you're going to have no energy in play, and it's going to be a little awkward, but that might be the one round. Just hope Peter doesn't have a boss.
Yeah, you have the potential to play the Alesta Sparkle since it's private knowledge that the Fusion Strike energy is in your hand, so you can elect to play it to thin it out of the deck, but you're going to have to play it eventually. You've got Boss's Orders potentially as an option. I know one was Palpadded back in, I believe, so even though it was discarded early, it is still potential for later on. And of course, Psychic Leap is still at your disposal to be able to deal a little bit of damage, but more importantly, essentially heal the Mew V by shuffling it and back into the deck, as well as all cards attached to it. So the interesting thing for Vincent, I think just resource-wise, is what do I want to commit here, right? What do I want to play? But just taking a while to think, is there a specific way I can thin the hand out the most? Do I want to play the Celeste Sparkle? This is the tough decisions that happen in high-stakes games of Pokemon.
Vincent using the training court to grab that basic energy, and that's the one safe energy attachment for Vincent here from that opposing Beedrill, no Paracel on that Mew on the bench. So it's the one way you can actually get here. I actually like saving the Alesta Sparkle in hand because if you do Psychic Leap the Mew back in the deck, you get that 70 damage on the Arceus. That allows you to sparkle those energies back into play next turn if you want and deal the rest of the damage with something like a Meloetta.
Yeah, that would be the potential. If that is the play, I would like to see Vincent go into that Oricorio. As a one-prize Pokemon, that would be what seems to be the best route, but it looks like Oricorio is, so far for Vincent in this case, prevented that Mew V from being knocked out. We'll see the Power Tablet get played. Genesect will draw one card. It looks like it was a Pokemon catcher.
That's actually pretty great here. You can use that. But Tails, ooh.
Unfortunate Tails flip will at least get thinned out of the hand so we could see one more card get grabbed, potentially off of the second Genesect, but we're just going to see the Psychic Leap shuffling this Mew back into the deck. Oricorio does come up. We'll see if Peter is able to find the damage modifier this turn, plus something like the Boss's Orders. Oricorio at minimum will be going down, but now that there's a decent amount of damage on this Arceus, Peter's only got one card to heal, which is that Sharon's Care to pick it back up. But looking at this hand, there's really not much going on the surface. A few tool cards, has a Marnie and a Sobble, so can at least draw some cards, but no access to Shady Dealings just yet.
Yeah, really needed to draw that Shady Dealings Inteleon to really just seal up the game, get that Boss's Orders, get that Choice Belt, and there you go. But is just going to have to settle for the Marnie here, most likely. You have Air Balloon to retreat, Big Charm to put on your other Arceus, and the Marnie is going to get rid of the energy and the Sparkle at least.
Yeah, those cards were pretty important lined up for the following turn to maybe get this Mew VMAX powered up. You've still got, I believe, one Pokemon catcher maybe. I know that a few have already hit the discard pile trying to see through those old Pokemon catchers back in the black and white era. I believe before they were errata to change. So one,
yeah,
two,
look, all three are in
all
there.
Three. Yeah, no access to any more Pokemon catcher and a few boss in there too. So
there is a couple boss.
Yeah, pretty limited on the gusting options available for Peter.
Pretty limited, Vincent, completely gone. Only 2 Boss's Orders in the deck, 3 Pokemon catchers. So that means Peter has a pretty easy route to try to come back and take this game here. Here is the Marnie for 5. Going to shuffle Vincent's hand down to the bottom of the deck. And doesn't really find too much. Has the training cord, but that's not, you can't even get rid of that in your hand. The Fog Crystal can grab you an energy if the second Psychic is in the deck.
Yeah, it looks like the Beedrill can go up and attack this turn as a one-prize Pokemon. Because Vincent is out of gusting options, will be forced to pretty much attack into this Beedrill and have no real way to close things out on the turn for Vincent, but it looks like that is going to be the line for Peter. Understands, if I put this one prize Pokemon up, most of these lists are playing 5 gusting options at max, the Pokemon Catcher and the boss's orders. And an interesting quirk about Beedrill is Jet Spear doesn't have to force you to discard the grass energy. It just has you discard an energy attached, dealing just enough damage, even with the reduction with Lessons in Zeal. On Oricorio, Peter is going to go down to 1 prize card. Actions on Vincent. It just feels so tough with no ability to gust at this point. If you're forced to just hit into this 1 prize Pokemon, Peter may have the option to figure out a way to close things out.
Yeah, you're going to have to try to figure it out here. Mew VMAX is going to have to be the card of choice. It's going to also have to have a basic Psychic Energy on it, because if Peter cobbles together a Mustard play to get another Beedrill, then that's just that. And it's still able to take a hit and will hopefully allow Vincent to play at least 1 more turn. But you need to find that VMAX first. He's not been able to find it for the past couple turns.
Yeah, the deck gets so thin late on in the game when you've already used so many of these Fusion Strike systems. We can see the deck maybe at 12-ish cards. 3, 6, 9, yeah, a little under 15 cards it appears. Does still have some key pieces, but the problem with using these Fusion Strike systems when you can draw so many cards is Alessa Sparkle is great at getting the energy into play. However, if they're stuck into your hand, you're not going to be able to play those cards, get them out of the deck, and you're just going to be stuck with pretty much unplayable cards, especially after you're going to commit your energy attachment for turn to this Mew. We see Ultra Ball in the hand as well. That means this Mew VMAX can come into play. Rose Tower can draw cards. I mean, if Vincent wanted to, I think the potential's there to just draw through the entire deck.
Yeah, and honestly, that's where you want to be. I would not want to play the Alessa Sparkle if you do draw it, because that gives Peter an out for something like a Beedrill. But again, you're taking the knockout here, and it's looking pretty good. There's no way for Peter to get a real attacker set up that isn't an Arceus next turn.
Yeah, we'll be going down to 1 prize card as well and evening things up. No Gust could definitely be an issue, especially since Peter does not have access to Big Charm anymore. That Arceus will 100% be able to withstand an attack due to the fact that, as of right now, Fusion Strike energy is gone. 210 will be the maximum base damage done, and there's already at least 2 to 3 modifiers in the discard pile. But there is the Mew VMAX getting grabbed out of the deck. Rose Tower will allow Vincent to fill the hand up to 3 without using any Fusion Strike systems. Draws the Alessa, does go into 1 Fusion Strike energy, so this Alessa can grab 2 still out of the deck, because there are a lot of, or there still are the last 2 energy in there, it seems. So we will, looks like counting through the deck, just making sure if I'm going to dig through, if I'm going to draw some more cards, is that still a possibility? But it looks like 1 card, so few cards so late in the game off of this Fusion Strike system. We're usually seeing this for 5 or 6, and nothing else to do. We're just going to see the Max Miracle take the knockout, and as long as Peter has a boss's orders at this point, or some way to find a trainer card, looks like the Evolution Incense will get there as long as that Shady Dealings Inteleon is in the deck. There's the Inteleon. The boss's orders can bring up the Genesect, retreat into the other Arceus. Peter maybe took a little bit more of a complicated route to get there, but will go up 1-0 in this top 4 set.
Yeah, you love to see it. You could have taken it, but give your opponent a chance a little bit, see how the game plays out. No, that was a pretty good game there from Peter, able to overcome just the power of Mew VMAX and its ability to just power through the deck. And with all the tablets being played, it also kind of took a little bit of worry off of Peter. Like, these Arceus are going to stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, Genesect just draws through the deck so fast, but at the cost of playing so many of these cards to thin out the hand, resources that are not too committal, you can afford to discard them. It's not great to get through them all. You really want them later on when you've drawn through the rest of your deck that is just meant to maybe find Pokemon, like your essentially 12 outs to Pokemon in the deck, the Quick Ball, the Ultra Ball, the Battle VIP Pass. Finding tablets early, finding some of these gusting outs early really came back to bite Vincent, unable to find a way to gust around that Beedrill at the end. Peter going up 1-0. Almost certain Vincent will kick things off going first, looking at the opening hands for both players. If there's a basic in this hand, this is looking solid.
Oh.
No, wow.
You had to say something. You had to say something.
It's commentator's curse. We had to have it once this weekend, right? Had 2 Battle VIP Pass in that hand. We don't have the best angle for it, but it's important for Peter. It's going to have more cards to work with. That can be, most of the time, a blessing to have more cards to work with, but for this deck that's really trying to thin down to 0, sometimes it can actually be a blessing in disguise.
Looking at the prizes quickly for Peter. Won't start the Galarian Zapdos V this game. hiding away in the prizes to go along with that air balloon and a mustard.
Yeah, has one of those grass energies in the prizes, but does play the 2 count, so we'll still have access to Beedrill, as well as another mustard, even though one is locked away.
The important card, I think, is that air balloon. Only 1 copy in the deck. You don't play any real other copy to get stuff out of the active outside of Scoop Up Net.
Yeah, especially if it's an Arceus or something like the Galarian Zapdos, which is not an option here. They can get locked away quickly. Mew VMAX in the prize cards. That means that for the rest of the game, there will only be 1 Mew VMAX, as a 4-2 line is what Vincent opted to play. But we're ready to get into game number 2. Hand is not looking too great. Looks like Ultra Ball top deck will bail out a little bit here for Vincent, but besides that, I think it was just going to be relying off this Chromatic flip, which was a Tails. Wow, this means that you do have a Genesect in hand, Quick Ball, or Ultra Ball as well. Rose Tower can fill the hand back up, but you really don't want to discard a lot of these pieces in hand. Eyeing up discarding 2 Stadium cards.
Hey, you don't really need him in this matchup. Peter does play 2 Training Court himself, so you don't have to worry about Paths of the Peak. Those are cards that you can't really play more of in the same turn, so being able to discard that won't be too bad, but the Fusion Strike energy being discarded here is pretty big.
Dilemma between drawing cards and getting that turn 1 energy attachment. The fact that the Fusion Energy got discarded here means we'll most likely be seeing another Genesect come into play to try and draw into those Battle VIP passes for later on. Looking through decks, seeing what's prized. Again, nothing too relevant. Maybe a little bit alarmed to see that one of those Mew VMAX are unavailable, especially with how quickly Beedrill can respond to a Mew VMAX with special energy on it. So it looks like eyeing up the Genesect to be grabbed. Has another one in the hand, Mew as well, but getting rid of that energy on turn 1 just can feel so detrimental at times.
Yeah, ended up keeping, I think, the Genesect and what, a Pokemon catcher? Or
It looks like Rose Tower is the last
Rose Tower,
card.
that's right.
So that was really what the debate was between. Do I want to draw more cards before using Fusion Strike system, try to find Battle VIP Pass, or do I think that the turn 1 energy attachment is that important? Which a lot of cases it is, because Boss's Orders becomes that much more of a threat. What's the 3 cards here? Does find a Fusion Strike energy. A Mew as well has not utilized Fusion Strike system yet. Means that we can see this energy attached no matter what cards are drawn here off of these 3. We will be able to see the Ultra Ball. Fill the hand back up after grabbing another Genesect, grabs another Ultra Ball and a Chromatic. I'm not a risky person, so I'm always getting rid of the Chromatic and not flipping. I don't know about you, Jeremy.
Yeah, you want that Battle VIP Pass. Get rid of that Ultra Ball, flip heads, you get that Chromatic going. Battle VIP Pass, get 2 more Genesects, start popping off. But again, if you do that, flip tails, your hand is just not good. You can't even Ultra Ball, so it really is, wow, just deciding nothing at all past the turn. You got that energy already, just save the cards for next turn. And now it's up to Peter. Peter's hand was a little bit iffy, but you do have an Ultra Ball to get another basic Pokemon here. But the energy search is the only route of energy for him right now.
Yeah, maybe saw a Fighting Energy in the hand as well, so the options are there. Grass Energy to set that up in the discard pile. We saw important getting Training Court in play, as it's a lot easier to find your Training Courts if the Grass Energy is already there, to maybe find your energy searches when you're playing them early on or having to grab them. It's sort of that trade-off, right, because you are playing 2 copies of each at this point, 2 of the Training Court and 2 of the energy search. So it's the trade-off you've got to consider always when looking at how you want to route these Beedrill plays, and it actually is only 1 copy of the energy search in this deck. So that is why we see Peter opt to just grab the energy early, understand there's more outs for me to draw into Training Court later on, and it also acts as a way to get it in the discard pile, since you can always grab it back with Training Court later on, especially when your opponent has played a lot of stadiums. But the hand must have some important pieces for Peter, because the opt to discard Drizzile, a card that you never want to see the discard pile, will be the choice. Grabbing another Arceus. You got to be scared against Mew. If they've already got a turn and energy down, it's very likely your Arceus is going to fall.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's pretty easy in this position as well. Just 1 damage modifier to get that 220 plus number. And with Peter not having access to, no access to a double turbo here, won't be able to Trinity Charge for the turn, just attaches that Fighting Energy to the benched one, meaning Vincent will have to do a little bit of work, maybe a Pokemon Catcher heads flip to take the knockout. And yeah, there we see just the pass, and Vincent gets paid off for saving that hand. Power Tablet was the card, and that means you're just that much closer to taking a knockout.
5 item cards here for Vincent. Plenty of choices on what to discard off of this Chromatic. Can empty the hand, so to say. Play the Ultra Ball, play the Chromatic. There are 2 Ultra Ball in the hand. We'll see the Chromatic get played first. Smart sequencing choice. It is a heads. This can find any card out of the deck. Maybe the energy card like Fusion Strike. The Escape Rope as well can be a big deal to remove the Arceus with the energy, the main attacking threat on the board for Peter, and force Peter to have an out to Raihan. Otherwise, there's going to be no real damage being done unless Peter is able to pull together some sort of an Arceus or a Beedrill play, but that's going to be so difficult because of the Air Balloon being prized.
This hand is working out perfectly for Vincent here. The 3 cards left are going to be that Ultra Ball, Choice Belt, and Power Tablet. Usually 2 cards you don't want to discard, but you can actually play both of those cards, and thanks to the Rose Tower, draw up to 3, discard those cards if you want. Then you can get another Genesect, and you have an empty hand with 2 Genesects that can draw up to 5.
Drawing cards is always good. That's what I love the most about the Pokemon trading card game. Fill the hand up, that feeling of drawing cards, the research for 7, Sycamore High Five, all of those terms. It's great. I think that just the main decision is, do I want to play the Escape Rope now? Yes, thin the hand out as much as possible. We'll see the Mew come up as a pivoter. Don't need to commit into this other Mew V. And we'll see the Rose Tower get played first. We'll play the Power Tablet to make sure the damage modifier is there to knock out the Arceus V. I believe there's actually 2 different artworks of this Ultra Ball, the Sun and Moon Secret Rare and the Brilliant Star Secret Rare. So
No, I believe that's a Quick Ball in the hand.
a Quick Ball and an Ultra Ball,
Yeah.
I think. So a lot of
They're
different
gold cards. They all look the same.
Listen, it's hard sometimes to distinguish everything. I think the debate for Vincent at this point is...
I like quick balling the Ultra Ball, save the belt. You can even belt the other Mew, but he didn't want to play the belt just because you want that big Paracel on the one you're attacking with, and if Peter does actually get a mustard play going. And actually just opting to discard the belt here, you don't need that damage modifier right now, I guess, and have that Ultra Ball can thin out maybe some Battle VIP passes that you draw with Fusion Strike System.
Listen, it can only be played in the first turn. We don't want to see any of those anymore now that it's essentially an unplayable card just there to hopefully not draw or to discard with some fodder.
Also, Ultra Ball is the out to Mew VMAX.
It is, yes. Yeah, saving the Ultra Ball to make sure that the cards will be there to discard off of a Fusion Strike system. I believe we'll be seeing that right now. First Fusion Strike system, filling the hand up to 5 cards. Good cards that discard. Look, hey, if you're going to discard some cards, you might as well discard Battle VIP Pass.
And draw the Mew VMAX to go along with it. Why not?
So just 1 piece away from completing the turn goal of knocking out this Arceus V. We see the energy already on the Mew V from the previous turn. There's a lot of ways to find that Fog Crystal. You can just draw into the energy. No supporter card played yet as well, so Lesser Sparkle is a potential out additionally.
What a turn from Vincent here to try to take back the momentum in this match as the Ultra Ball finds the Meloetta here. So a little risky, only giving it 1 Fusion Strike system to try to find the energy, but I do believe it'll be for 5 cards.
Yeah, Genesect counts in play have varied between players. Having all these Pokemon in play, you want to have your Oricorio out, and your Mew finds the energy, though. That is the big find. 2 Genesects means it's going to be a lot harder to dig through the deck consistently. You just get 1 less Fusion Strike system, but importantly, finds the Fusion Strike energy. That means this Mew VMAX will be able to attack, take the knockout onto this Arceus, and it looks like we are debating what's happening with this. Just making sure, yep, we used Rose Tower and both Fusion Strike system. No more draw power because the bench is full. Rose Tower has been played, but that's all you need. You found everything needed. Make sure, yep, that Mew.
Don't want to discard that Mew. That just goes to the bench.
Hey, listen, if you could discard Pokemon every time you retreat it, that'd be quite the effect on a card. But able to pivot into this Mew VMAX. There's the knockout with Techno Blast, 220 damage. Vincent will take the first prize cards of this game, and it's really on Peter to put together a knockout or at least apply some pressure. I don't know if Peter checked to make sure the Air Balloon was still in the deck, because otherwise there is no way for this Arceus to pivot out as well as getting a Beedrill into play.
And I think that is what Peter is seeing now. We could possibly just see, I don't know, a scoop of the cards. Is there a good way to actually get this going? You can Raihan an energy to the Arceus and get an attack off and at least charge something up, maybe that Hoopa.
You've still got access to Big Charm this time around, so it's going to be a little bit harder to knock out this Arceus. You know your opponent has gotten rid of a Choice Belt. They already have played a few damage modifiers at this point. They're going to have to really get lucky off of these Genesect Fusion Strike systems in order to find everything. Plus, they're still going to need a pivoting card because Techno Blast allows you are unable to attack the following turn after using Techno Blast. We will see the Arceus V-Star get grabbed. Already it looks like has Raihan in the hand, and I think smartly going to choose to play the Raihan first, can choose either of these basic energy, opting to put the fighting energy on this Arceus. Having the grass is great for future because you can always have the beat drill. And more importantly, grabbing the card out of the deck, double turbo, a standard grab either off of this or the V-Star power, no surprises here.
Yeah, it's looking like double turbo is the grab. You can Starbirth for Pokemon to charge up here, and I think that's what Peter is going to do. That Hoopa V is one way to actually get a one-hit knockout, hopefully, but now it needs a choice band thanks to that Oricorio in play. And other than that, you're not really charging up too much. Maybe another Arceus. You don't want to charge up that Galarian Zapdos, even in the prizes.
There's the problem of the attackers, and essentially as well, the hand is not looking too great for Peter. Has no Sobbles down into play, has no draw supporter for the following turn. I believe Scoop Up Net and one other card is what the options are for Peter. But maybe Peter understands, hey, my opponent got off to such a strong start to go. I've got to kind of go all in on this play, hope it works. And if not, we go to game 3. Also can draw cards off of the Rose Tower as well. And I think that's the thought process that Peter has let me draw a card here off the Rose Tower, can fill the hand up to 3, then play the counter stadium. So I get access to it for this turn. But coming back to you, you're not going to be able to fill that hand up anymore.
Almost actually played down that training court too before shuffling the deck. And so the Rose Tower will be able to get that one card, and one card could be the make or break for this game here.
There's the Rose Tower, one card off the top of the deck. Is it a Sobble?
It's a quick ball.
Wow, that's a big opportunity. Can just give you one more out off the top of your deck for the following turn. I don't think there's any reason we should see Peter not play the card. Scoop Net is a resource that you want later down the game, but we will see it get played. Interesting to see what this grabs. What do you think is the best grab here, Jeremy?
Looks like another Arceus V for Peter, and just essentially charging up 2 different attackers. You're kind of at a standstill with what you have available, and if you get a Sobble, it's not really going to do too much. Your opponent will still need to take the knockout on the Sobble, so I like this. Force your opponent to go through 3 big Pokemon V to take those last prizes.
And a smart choice. Peter decided to not get rid of the Rose Tower in play. Understands that my hand is very weak. I've only got one card in hand. I want to be able to fill up next turn as long as my opponent does not play a counter stadium of their own to get rid of their own stadium to understand. So that would be a big tell for Vincent. Vincent understands that Peter has low cards, not much going on to, yeah, you limit your own draw, but you've got Genesect to fill the hand up more than Peter has aggressive draw. But there's the quick ball, getting rid of the Battle VIP pass. I'm almost certain this will grab nothing, but more so it's just getting cards out of the hand you don't need.
Exactly. Looking through the deck, checking the resources, what is left for Vincent here is going to have to play this game perfectly to be able to get the game 2 out of the way.
Yeah, it looks like 2 Boss's Orders in combination with some cards that will get discarded off of the Ultra Ball. This could grab another Mew VMAX, but at that point you shut off the ability to Psychic Leap, one of the best attacks, one of the most, I would say, underrated, underestimated attacks. Being able to put a Pokemon either back into your hand or back into the deck is such a powerful effect we've seen throughout the history of the Pokemon trading card game. We have an update here. Luke has won over Justin and will be advancing to the finals. We've got some updates, so that will be interesting to see. The winner of this will be playing up against Luke Smith in the finals of this regional event. I'm already excited for what that match is going to look like.
Yeah, that is got to be crazy for sure. But right now, we are in the thick of it. Mew against this Arceus Beedrill Hoopa. And so far, Vincent needs to pull something together. The double boss, like you said, in hand, not really the best cards right now. You can draw 3 cards with Fusion Strike System again, but you're just wanting to try to set up a Meloetta play here.
So this Hoopa has 210 base, so it's got 240 health. So regardless, it will need 1 damage modifier, it seems. So the fact is, we will see, actually, the Boss's Orders is going to target up the Arceus V instead. We'll still need a damage modifier in order to get this knockout. We'll see the Rose Tower first to just draw an extra card, draws into the Pal Pad. That can shuffle back in some supporter cards, but at this point, I feel like you're putting in 2 cards you don't want to draw for 1. It's nice to thin the hand out for 1 for now, but there's a high odds that you draw into those cards you just put back in. So we're just confirming the Boss's Orders, Alessa Sparkle going back into the deck. We can't stress it enough. Finding this damage modifier is very important for Vincent to stay alive in this tournament.
Does have the switch in hand to be able to reset the Mew VMAX as well, but decides not to play it.
Does find a few cards that can be played down, does have the Pokemon Catcher. You could get really risky and play the Pokemon Catcher hoping it flips tails so you can draw one more card out of the hand, but at least finds the Quick Ball. So interesting choice to not play the Switch. I feel like every time there you just want to draw another card and you still need to reset your attack off of Technoblast. Looks like eyeing up the Decision Supporter played for turn already. There's a lot of okay cards that you're okay discarding with off of this Quick Ball. Less of Sparkle. You've got some more pivoting options.
Looks like the Switch might be one of the cards discarded, and that would not be too good.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what attack was used last turn. I believe the only attack that would have been able to get the knockout onto the 2 prize Pokemon there would have been Techno Blast to be able to knock out the Arceus V. So we'll have to get confirmation on what attack was used just to make sure. The instance being is that the player cannot attack the next turn if they do not switch in and out of the active with a switch or another switching card. So we'll figure out how that gets figured out. So as of right now, the main goal is to find that damage modifier to get the knockout on the Arceus. Otherwise, it's just going to fall just short. And there's no way to quick shooting or zigzagoon or use some abilities to finish off damage. You're going to have to attack again.
It looks like we are going to get confirmation on that, so stay tuned. But just 2 cards for the Fusion Strike system. Big Parasol is one of them, but the Power Tablet. So that is the damage modifier needed.
Yeah, it's the trade-off. I think the main concern for Vincent, oh no, hasn't played a Choice Belt either, so can actually attach the big Parasol, but at the same time, you're staring down 2 Pokemon that can knock out this Mew VMAX, and we will finally see the Switch, so it's all good.
Okay.
Everything works out. The Switch will finally go into the Mew V, retreating back into the Mew VMAX, so we will be able to see the attack deal damage to the Mew VMAX, or excuse me, to this Arceus V. The modifier is there, 240 damage, enough to take the knockout. And Vincent is routing these prizes as well. It's going to be 2 prize cards away from forcing a game number 3.
2 prize cards remaining after this turn, but no energy in play and only 1 Mew VMAX. Remember that. Once this gets knocked out, the other one's in the top of the prize cards. So that is not gonna be good. Meloetta is not gonna do anything with just 1 Fusion Strike energy remaining.
Yeah, and we see the knockout, and this has got to be heartbreaking for Vincent to not find the second copy of Mew VMAX in the deck. Arceus immediately going to the active understands. There are plenty of cards to work with. Looks like Beedrill top.
Oh,
2
no.
Beedrill in hand.
Not what you want to see, but Peter still has this game pretty much locked up, and that's all because Vincent's prized Mew VMAX. It's going to be insanely hard for him to actually take a knockout.
Yeah, Peter, I think, is okay playing the training card, understands your hand's going to get pretty full the following turn, and there's no psychic energy left or yet in the discard pile for Vincent. So that's the thought process of how beneficial, when you're playing a card down that like a stadium that works for both players, you have to think, how beneficial is this going to be for both players? Peter opting to double check the resources, sees what the stadium counts look like as well. You usually get a pretty good out that most Mew lists are playing anywhere from 2 to 4 stadium, but it's usually that 3 middle ground number.
2, 4, 3, doesn't really matter too much.
It all works out. If you have the stadium, you have the stadium. But there we go, the knockout Trinity Nova. Peter will respond, going down to 3 prize card actions on Vincent. The problem is with no Mew VMAX available, with 2 Fusion Strike energy gone, the maximum amount of damage that Vincent could deal this turn without modifiers is 140 damage. That's not nearly enough to take the prizes needed to win this game.
And if you remember correctly, it's 3 Fusion Strike energy gone.
Oh, it's
the
3.
1 discarded.
Wow, yeah, correct.
Turn 1. So Meloetta is doing 70 damage, and that is not going to cut it here. And that means Peter has all the time in the world, and we'll really know about it here with just the Sparkle grabbing the 1. And if it gets attached to that Meloetta, you're like, oh, okay.
And
my opponent doesn't have that VMAX.
And the second Psychic is also in the top prizes.
Oh,
Those are the 2 cards that weren't drawn into.
Oh, man, this has been worst case scenario for Vincent here, and had such a good start out of the gate.
Yeah, double turbo would be a great energy to attach to a Mew VMAX, but as we know, there's none of those left. It's just the luck that you run into sometimes when, I mean, you're going to have cards prized. to start every
And
game out.
yep.
And that's it. Peter
Wow.
Kica is going to advance to finals of the Secaucus Regional Championships with such a unique deck, taking down new VMAX. What a set we had there. Congratulations to Peter. He'll be advancing to play it out for the championship title.
Basically taking the top 2 decks from Indianapolis Regionals and just mashing them together and figuring out a way to make it work. Now in the finals, going to be going up against Luke Smith, and that is going to be a great finals match to have.
Absolutely. You know, both of these players have worked so